What's up, everyone? Solka here. I'm really excited about this video. There's a new set coming out. I think a lot of people realize that it's really true to the original Magic. Really nice cards that are within it. And I wanted to really bring this to you so we could rank some of the new ones that are coming into Arena specifically. So this is the Mystical Archives, and what this is a bonus sheet. So a bonus sheet is a bunch of reprints that are getting a new treatment, and they have a brand new look to them, and a lot of new powerful cards that are in here. So there's more than 17 overall, but what I'm doing is showing you the 17 that are coming new to Arena, and I want to talk a little bit about what's the impact they're going to have, right? So I got a little scale here, as you can see on the bottom. We're going to go through each format that I find applicable. So the three formats that I'm looking at today are Historic, Timeless, and Brawl. And the little scale here meaning just one emoji for, okay, maybe you could use it, maybe it's nothing too crazy. Two meaning, yeah, this could be fun to use, has a good usage for it. And three means you have to try it out and potentially format warping for some of the arena-only formats. So let's get to it and take a look. So at number 17, we have Subterranean Tremors. So I haven't heard of this card at all. This was originally a Conspiracy Take the Crown card, so that wasn't on Arena originally. And it's kind of a weird card. It's definitely the easiest one to put at the highest or lowest ranking, I should say. So this is a sorcery that says does X damage to each creature without flying. If X is 4 or more, destroy all artifacts. If X is 8 or more, you get a big dumb 8/8 red lizard that has nothing associated to it. So what do I think about this? I don't know. It's only really good for Brawl. And I wouldn't even call it good. I guess this card can be a one-sided board wipe that can turn into something later on down the road, but for 9 mana for a base 8/8, I don't really see the value in it. Maybe red is a little bit starved for board wipes, so if you're playing a Brawl deck with mono red, I could see this card being okay. But other than that, I don't see it as like a must play, so I definitely am very comfortable putting it at the top of the list here. Coming in at number 16, so we have Smallpox, and I really do hate to rank this card so highly or so low here. This card is a 2 mana sorcery, so it's 2 black to say each player loses 1 life, discard a card, sacrifice a creature, and sacrifice a land. So why would you play this, seeing how much damage and destruction this can cause? Well, there's like a classic formula to this, and that's really just if you can do something to your opponent that has a huge impact and it's going to impact you, but you can rebuild faster or build around that kind of negative effect, then this would be a great card. The only reason I put it so low is, honestly, it's missing a really important card, and that's Life of the Loam. That's not in Arena. So Life of the Loam is a sorcery that lets you return 3 lands from your graveyard to your hand. And that is so important because if you're going to go down a land, you're going to need to really build back and return what you sacrifice from your own disease over here that you're casting. Again, this is like, I don't see it really being used in Brawl. It's just nothing you would put a 1 of in. So Historic and Timeless are absolutely playable for this, but without the support, I don't see it having huge impact. So I would say it gets only a 1 ranking for each of the formats there. Coming in at 15, we have Triumph of the Hordes. So this is a very interesting card. It's been upshifted from uncommon to mythic, which is a huge boost in rarity. So that'll definitely impact the actual physical dollar value of this card. So it's 4 mana sorcery. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1, gain trample and infect. I really thought about this from a 60 card format, and I'm not sure that I really see it. I think it's definitely possible, but it's kind of slow. You need to have a huge board state, so you need a bunch of creatures that you cast on turns 1, 2, and 3. And you need to do 10 damage total within those creatures that are on board already. So yeah, what we're trying to do with it is really just trying to end the game through infects and do 10 damage total. I mean, it's not an instant, so you can't really surprise people with this. You have to kind of do it on your pre-combat main and hopefully get the damage enough, get it through, and that makes sure that nothing you have dies. And knowing that, I don't think it's really that possible to do in 60 cards. So for Brawl, absolutely. This is a great card in like a mono green build, even a black green build. It's definitely a valuable card to just kind of go wide and work with like your big creatures that you're just trying to end the game with. I wouldn't say it's a complete game changer in Brawl. Obviously, it's not on the game changer list, but I do think that it can be included in certain green or green with other color builds. At number 14, we have Glimpse of Nature. So I'll talk through this a little bit here. This card is probably the best in some very old formats like Legacy, where there's a bunch of 0 mana creatures. Obviously, it's a 1 mana green sorcery. Whenever you cast a creature spell this turn, draw a card. So what you want to do with this kind of card is you cast it, and then after that you cast a bunch of 0 mana creatures, and you just keep drawing and hopefully get your storm count up so you can cast something like Grape Shot. I don't think this finds a home really in any of the 60 card formats. Absolutely not in Brawl. I don't really see any kind of green build that's going to be amassing a bunch of low mana creature spells enough to have a very explosive turn and then maybe cast some kind of payoff towards the end. It really needs to be in a 60 card deck where you're just, okay, I cast this and now I'm going to cast a bunch of creatures. And you'll see this link here. So this is one of the main arguments not to really run this in historic or time lists. This is the only small list of creatures that are 0 mana. So they're not even in color either. And it really wouldn't make sense just to be able to draw a bunch of cards and in the end not really have a payoff towards anything. So this for me is not necessarily anything that can really impact much. Coming in at number 13, Pongify. So this card is fun. Nothing again too crazy. So 1 mana blue instant, destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. Its controller creates a 3/3 green ape token. I gave it 2 historic ranks because I do think that it has like some potential if you're like a mono blue build and you're trying to maybe, I don't know, destroy something on board, which I know blue is really meant for spell interaction and not really destroying creatures, but the fact that this effect is being added to blue where it doesn't really have much of it, I think is worthwhile to note. It could be like a sideboard card in certain builds, I don't know. So I wouldn't say it's like a 1, I wouldn't say it's a 3. I think 2 is comfortable for historic. And if you're playing timeless, yeah, you're going to have access to a much higher spell count of interaction that you won't even need to consider something like this. But for Brawl, I do really like it. So I think this is a great include. It's just one slot that you could use for destroy something, and for 1 mana and an instant, you don't get better than that when it comes to like the spell type and the mana value. So I do think this can have quite an effect. At number 12, we have Berserk. So Berserk, again, another 1 mana instant. Cast a spell only before the combat damage step. So you have to do this before you actually do damage. And what the spell does then is says target creature gains trample and gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is its power. At the beginning of the next end step, destroy that creature if it attacked. So this card in paper is probably a blast. It's only really legal in Legacy and Commander on paper, but in Arena, I don't really see the use in historic or timeless. What you can maybe do with it is kind of use some type of creatures that are infect potentially that you'd want to do 10 damage, but I don't see them ever getting to the point where they are high enough to really end the game. Like there's not many like 5 power infect creatures, so really it's not necessarily worth it to run this. I do like it in Brawl though. So yeah, 60 card is not great, but for Brawl, I do think that this card can be like I would look for it in a mono green build. I think it would be amazing to just run some kind of, I don't know, like a Galta type card, and it's already 12 power, and then just casting a Berserk and doing insane damage. I mean, the damage to power boost ratio for this card is bar none the best. So I'm excited to play it for sure. And another thing to keep in mind, actually, this is actually a funny piece of this, is that notice how it says at the beginning of the next end step, destroy that creature. So this card is destroying it. So if you can somehow give your creature indestructible, you can let it live after the Berserk has gone through and done its thing. So I think that's something to keep in mind. And another thing about Brawl is there's no commander damage. So I think that's kind of important to really understand that, you're not doing commander damage, 21 damage. That's why in paper this is such a great card to have for certain builds. But again, not really for Brawl as much, but definitely include it, play it, and have a lot of fun. At number 11, we have Brain Freeze. So this is the first slide where I'm going to include some of the cards that I think are relevant towards it. And honestly, for Brain Freeze, it's a little bit hard to gauge, but I'll talk you through it here. So it's a 2-mana blue instant, and target player mills 3 cards, and it has Storm, which is the main draw here. So with Storm is for every spell you cast before it, you copy this spell that many times. So what can you do with this? Really, what you want to do is maybe mill out your opponent. So you just want to be able to cast a bunch of spells that you'll continually mill, or continually cast enough of a storm count that when you do cast this, say you cast 9 spells before this and then you cast this, so you'll get that'll be 10 resolutions of the spell, which will have somebody mill 30 cards, right? So I think that this card is definitely used in paper a lot because there's a lot of infinite combos. And you could either mill out your opponents or you can mill yourself and maybe cast like a Thassa's Oracle or a Laboratory Maniac. I don't think a lot of those pieces are in Arena already. I mean, there is Underworld Breach, which is actually legal in Historic, which is kind of interesting, even though I only gave it a 1 on the ranking there. But in Timeless, I could see this maybe, being used. You cast an Underworld Breach. There's just so much fast mana in Timeless that you should be able to utilize this well. And in Brawl, too. I mean, Brawl, there's just a lot of things you can do. So, I kind of have this card in the middle of the pack. I don't really see it being, so super crazy, but it is a strong card, and I know a lot of people use it in paper to combo. It's like a must in CEDH, so I do think it'll be fun to see if it can be used in Arena as well. So coming in at number 10, we have Angel's Grace. So Angel's Grace is another 1-mana instant, and it's a white instant. It has Split Second. As long as the spell is on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Split Second is really powerful. The second you cast this, no one else can respond or react to it, so you'll get the priority on the stack, and that's great because you can feel like you'll be comfortable casting this, and no matter what, it should potentially resolve. I don't think there's anything around that. You can't lose the game this turn, and your opponents can't win the game this turn. Until end of turn, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. Yeah, and I really don't know about this card in Historic. Maybe there's some use to it as a nice card just to kind of save yourself. But really, if you're just using it as a way to save yourself for a turn, I don't really see the value. Although I don't think that applies to Brawl. In Brawl, I do think there's value in that. In 60 card, not so much, unless you're actually building towards something that you're actually trying to hurt yourself with, and then try to get something out of that. And I'll explain more in a second. So for Timeless, I do see that there's some use in that. A Brawl, absolutely include this. Again, not a game changer. It's not like it's Teferi's Protection, but what it'll do is just allow you to, have this in your pocket in case something goes wrong. Maybe you can turn the game around the next turn, so you can really kind of trick your opponent into thinking, you're going to lose. But then for 1 mana and for something they can't respond to with Split Second, you can cast this and then save yourself. The reason why I think that it has some use and building around for Timeless is with the next card, number 9, and that's Ad Nauseam. So if you do cast the Angel's Grace and then play Ad Nauseam, so the order of operations for that would be, okay, I'm going to cast Ad Nauseam, hold priority, and then cast Angel's Grace after. So Angel's Grace would resolve, your opponent can't respond to it, and then Ad Nauseam would then be on the stack and resolve next. And so what does that do? With Ad Nauseam, you reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to its mana value. You may repeat this process any number of times. So I think you can kind of see where we're going with this. So you cast Angel's Grace, cast Ad Nauseam, and now you can just kind of rip through your library, keep putting the cards into your hand, lose the life, but you'll only go down to 1 because Angel's Grace will continue to save you. And so, okay, so say you can draw your entire library. What do you do with that? Well, you can then cast something like Thassa's Oracle or Laboratory Maniac, which we talked about earlier in the Brain Freeze segment there. Yeah, so with those 2 cards, right? So you can just, if you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game. Thassa's Oracle is a little different, where it's when it enters, you look at the top cards of your library, where X is your devotion to blue, and you put up to 1 of them on top of your library and the rest in the bottom of your library. And if X is greater than equal to the number of cards in your library, then you win the game. So with Ad Nauseam, you just get your whole library and then cast the Thassa's Oracle, and you should win the game. I could see Timeless kind of building around that. So you'd have your Ad Nauseams, you'd have all your crazy counter spells, and you have your your Angel's Grace. Yeah, I think that would be just like a great way to just try to get the Thassa's Oracle or Laboratory Maniac into play while you have your whole library drawn to win. Do think there's some ability to build around that. But for Brawl, I think Ad Nauseam, everyone knows it's a very powerful commander card. It's used in CDH so often where you have 40 life, right, in Commander, so you cast Ad Nauseam, and there's a bunch of 0 mana artifacts and low mana cost cards that you just keep, again, ripping through your library. But in Arena, I don't think you'll have as much of like okay, this card is like super competitive. Yes, it is, but I don't think you can get around the life loss as much in Brawl because it's only 25 life. But again, really just, it'll be good to have just so like in a pinch you can try to, draw as much as you can. But again, I think really the best thing to do is just kind of pair it with Angel's Grace. And I think that whole combo coming to Arena should be very interesting to see what players can build with. Coming in at number 8, we have Culling the Weak. And again, another 1 mana spell, which is awesome. 1 mana instant, doesn't get any cheaper, any faster than that. And this says as an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature, and you get to add 4 black mana to your mana pool. I think this is very cool for Historic, if it is legal. I don't know, again, the legality of it. Wizards may have or may not have announced it, but I do think this has more impact in Historic than it does in Timeless. And the reason I say that is because Timeless, or Historic I should say, doesn't have as much fast mana as Timeless does. Timeless has Dark Ritual, has Chrome Mox, has Mox Opal. It has all those cheap spells, Ancient Tomb for 2 mana. So you can get to 4 so much quicker in Timeless than you can in Historic. So knowing that, with Historic, now you can try to play something like this where you can get to 4 mana pretty quickly. And all you need to do is sacrifice a creature. So there's a lot of creatures you can put to play that probably don't really mean much, like Stitcher's Supplier or Bloodghast. I don't know if you want to build around that, but getting 4 mana in Historic can really accelerate things. And I think that it might find a good home there. With what exactly, I'm not too sure right now, but I do think that it'll be a fun card to try to play Historic with. But for Brawl, honestly, I think Brawl can have a lot of fun with this card. There's just so much you can do with 4 mana, and to accelerate that quickly, it'll be an excellent include in the 99. So looking forward to seeing what Culling the Weak can do on Arena. At number 7, we have Living End. So on the topic of low mana instants and sorceries, this one actually costs you 0. But it has a suspend cost, so you can pay 2 black and 2 colorless. And what happens with suspend is it gets put into exile, and in 3 turns you can then cast it, right? Each player exiles all creature cards from their graveyard, then sacrifices all creatures they control. Then puts all cards they exiled this way onto the battlefield. So it kind of like swaps all the creatures that are in play versus what's in the graveyard, but both players do that, so keep that in mind. So if your opponent actually has a lot of creatures in their graveyard and they have nothing on board, they also get the value here as well. But again, so the whole reason that people play this, I'm sure a lot of players from Modern are familiar with this. It's a very popular build. What you're supposed to do is play Cascade. And so with Cascade, this would be the lowest mana value spell in your deck. And then you cast something with Cascade. And so that means that the only card that can be played with Cascade is the 0 mana card that it finds, right? So it exiles cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less, meaning if you play Valen Outburst, you won't have anything with 2 mana or 1 mana in your deck. Only this. So that way, no matter what, you can guarantee that you're going to hit this card once you draw one of these. And yeah, so here we have a little section of like the cards that are on Arena that support this. In Modern, there are a lot of different ways to put strong creatures into your graveyard. There's a popular Sphinx in a Monkhet that's like a 1 mana, blue mana to cycle it, right? So you discard it and draw a card. There's Street Wraith, but these are cards that are not in Arena, right? So what you need to do is find some cards that you think would play well with this kind of archetype. And like you probably want to get certain things that like Oliphant here, which is like a mountain cycling card for 1. You want to find things that will cost you 1 to put it in the graveyard and kind of give you some effect from that. This card in Historic, maybe you could build around it. I just don't see the Cascade spells are not really great. So, besides that, not only do you need good Cascade spells, but you need to have good things that you can put in the graveyard. And I don't really think that there are too many that can really build you up for this. So I think maybe it's possible in historic, which is why I give it a 2, right somewhere in the middle. But other than that, I want to see what players kind of do with this because it is a really fun concept, and I hope there's enough support around it. Timeless, I give it a 1. I honestly shouldn't even give it that much because it's not strong enough for Timeless, in my opinion. There's already a lot of spells that kind of cheat large creatures into play, so I don't think the setup of like wasting cards with like 4 mana and 3 mana Cascade really does it in Timeless. So, but who knows? We'll see what comes out of that. Number 6, we have Pyretic Ritual, 2 mana red instant to add 3. So almost a Dark Ritual. But what we can do to turn it into a Dark Ritual is play a lot of cards like Ruby Medallion or Ral, which is like part of the Storm concept, right? So this is going to be like something you see in a lot of Storm builds. I think for Historic, this can be very strong, actually. I do see that maybe this could really have some longevity in Historic. I don't know that this will be banned there. I'm not sure. I don't think it's that strong to be banned, but who knows? Historic's kind of a weird format. It's like in between Timeless, but also has some interesting bans, right? But yeah, with like the Storm concept, you're gonna try to reduce your red spells or instant and sorcery spells by 1, playing these 2 cards here, Ral and Ruby. That way, this would turn into a Dark Ritual for red, right? Cast a Manamorphose, where you pay 1 mana to add 2 mana, right? So you're gonna be mana positive, draw a card, or play Reckless Impulse. So you exile the top 2 cards of your library for 1 mana, right? And you can just kind of chain these spells together. Keep adding that storm count like we talked about earlier, right? So just cast as many spells as you can in 1 turn, and then have a big payoff at the end. So the payoff would be something like maybe Grape Shot, or I don't know if you're trying to do, maybe Brain Freeze does find a home here, like I was saying before. A lot of ways to go about it, but you would definitely do some storm card at the end. Maybe Tendrils of Agony, but I don't know if that's historic legal or not. For Timeless, I gave it 2. I do think that Timeless has like I was saying before, so much fast mana. So I don't see the need of this being like a complete game changer. It does open up some more possibilities for red and for like an Izzet type build, but nothing like that's too crazy. Again, Dark Ritual really kind of rules the Timeless scene, and then a lot of fast mana through like Chrome Mox, Mox Opal, your Ancient Tombs. Like you're getting better value out of that, but I'm curious to see what players can come up with. But finally, we have Brawl, and I do think that this is a great include in Brawl, and that's absolutely a 3 out of 3. With Brawl, any type of play where you can try to get ahead faster and use fast mana like this, it's always worth looking into. So I do think that having an explosive turn, whether or not you're a spell slinger deck, is great just to have something where you can accelerate yourself and get ahead. So definitely looking forward to playing with this. Number 5. So Jessica's Will. So this card, again, you don't need to see any other card that goes alongside of it because I think you just know what it does, right? It's just a card that it tells you what format it's going to be in without any question. It's Brawl, right? Because there's the only format in Arena that has a commander. So if you cast this elsewhere, it really wouldn't do anything. It would do something, right? You would get one of the effects, but still, the whole reason of casting this is in a format with a commander in it. So what is Jessica's Will if you don't know? Well, it is a game changer, right? It's on the game changer list. It's a 3 mana red sorcery, and it says choose 1. If you control a commander as you cast the spell, you may choose both instead. So you can add 1 red mana for each card in target opponent's hand, or exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. So the main draw, again, with this card is to have your commander out and get both, right? So that means you're getting mana acceleration, you're getting card acceleration from your library, and the turns that this can lead to can be devastating. There's a reason it's a game changer. The art is beautiful. It looks like a Renaissance piece over here. And I think it should be very interesting to see in Arena and in a digital format. So I think Jessica's Will is going to have a huge impact, and really looking forward to that. So coming in at number 4, everyone's favorite topic, Mass Land Denial, Armageddon. 4 mana sorcery, destroy all lands. Doesn't get any more simple than that. I do think that this is going to be very interesting to see. Again, I only see it in Brawl. I don't see it in anything else. And the topic of Mass Land Denial has a lot of controversy. Is it a fun way of playing the game to destroy all lands? I don't really know. I can't answer that question, but it's a part of the game, so I do think that it should be seen. And and really taken from there. If someone's playing this card in their deck, I assume that they're going to have some protection that goes alongside it. So you try to make this a one-sided board wipe. It could honestly be worked in a pinch where if you're like super behind and some opponent is just like a crazy ramp deck, and then you just kind of decide to throw this out there, and then the game just like essentially restarts almost. Everything is about lands, but I do think board state also comes into play. So there's so much that can be done with it. It's a game changer in Commander. It will be a game changer in Brawl as well. So yeah, this should be pretty fun. And for such an iconic card, it's going to be crazy to see it in Arena for the first time. So absolutely looking forward to that. And yeah, we'll see what it looks like. Getting closer to the end of the list here. So number 3, we have Daze. So it doesn't look like too much at first. Counter target spell unless his controller pays 1. What's so great about that? And for 2 mana to cast that spell, why would you do that? Well, it's all about the first part, right? So the first half says you can return an island you control to its owner's hand rather than pay this spell's cost. So that is where this comes in. You can play this for free, essentially. If you have an island on the board, which is all you need is the fun, classic island, you can play this card. And this is going to be very fun because what's going to happen in a bunch of formats, a lot of players, you're going to cast a spell, and there's going to be a huge pause. And you're like, wait a minute, all their lands are tapped. Why is there a pause? Because all these free spells are slowly making their way into Arena. And when you have this kind of collection of free spells, you're going to notice that there's a lot of opportunity to play it no matter what the opponent's level of lands are. So they could be untapped or fully tapped out, and you have to consider this thing. So this is very, very important. It's going to really test a lot of people's skill in formats. I do think it's a 3 in all formats, to be honest. I don't know that it's going to be historic legal. We'll see. I could see it being banned. I can see it not being banned. It's not a hugely oppressive card, but it is going to change the way things are looked at because, again, it's a free spell, and any free spell needs a lot of scrutiny when looking at it. Timeless, again, yes. There's a lot of times in Timeless where, there's already a lot of free spells as it is. There's Force of Negation. There's Mana Drain, which is not a free spell, but it's just so strong. But I do see that this can be played in Timeless as a counter spell to have in the arsenal. It's just that good. Anything free, again, needs to be looked at. And Brawl, you would think, well, Brawl has so much mana going around. Like, should one colorless matter? Again, always, about the free spells, right? So you could be fully tapped out, but you have this opportunity to just play it for free. And not only that, there's other cards that you can... I should have put an image on this, but you could have Mystic Reflection, I think it's called. No, drawing a blank, but it's the non-basic land from Kaldheim, which you could... it's an island type, right? So you can return a non-basic island. So if there are other islands that are non-basic and they have some kind of enter the battlefield effect, you could use that too. So keep that in mind. Daze is going to be very strong. Coming in at number 2, almost at the top here, Vampiric Tutor. This is another 1 mana instant. It's black. Search your library for a card, then shuffle and put that card on top. You lose 2 life. Don't think it'll be historic legal, so I'm just going to assume that already. But Timeless, I wonder if it's restricted as Demonic Tutor is. I think if it's restricted, then it should definitely be played no matter what. Again, I could be wrong on that assessment, but I do think that if you can just include one of these, it's a home run. I mean, Demonic Tutor is you always use as a one-of in any Timeless build that uses black for I would say 90% of them. So being able to just search for that one card you need, even if you're a combo deck or not a combo deck, it's always worth having this. Obviously, this is more of a Commander/Brawl effect, right? When you have 100 cards and they all differ from each other, a tutor is much more meaningful in that kind of setup. But again, I still see Timeless playing this. I mean, again, Vampiric Tutor is just such an iconic card, and it's again the first time coming to Arena. So really, we're seeing a lot of the strong cards making their way here to the point where we're almost fully complete in a lot of certain cycles. Like you have Demonic Tutor, we have Vampiric Tutor. I believe those are the main strong 2 black tutors at the moment, but still, yeah, very strong, and it's going to be great to see all these effects being able to be used. And finally, we're here at the end of the list. And I think a lot of people are going to know what the number one card is. It's going to be pretty obvious. It's going to change a lot of formats that it'll be able to be played in. And it's probably one of the strongest cards ever to be printed. So without further ado, Force of Will. And all you need to really successfully cast this is obviously a blue card, but if you're playing blue, you're going to want to play this. I mean, there's just no question about it. It's a 5 mana spell, and you'd say, whoa, a 5 mana spell? That sounds awful. A counter spell for 5 mana? And like similar to Daze, you got to read the first part. You may pay 1 life and exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. That rather than pay this spell's mana cost clause is what makes this so strong. So you just have a card in your hand that you pitch to it, put it to exile, and you can play this. A lot of these formats that you're gonna see a lot. Again, a huge pause in priority. You're gonna cast something, someone's gonna be tapped out, and that'll be your tell to say, oh wow, they have something. It could be Force of Negation, it could be Force of Will, it could be Daze, whatever it is, they're probably gonna counter something. I'm looking forward to having the last of like the very strong counter spells on Arena. I could see why they would slowly trickle this card into the game because it's going to change so much. And honestly, not having to buy it physically is also good too, so you can play the card without maybe spending money on it. It's just a very expensive card as well. Hopefully the reprinted paper will definitely bring it down a little bit for the time being, but yeah, super looking forward to this. No matter what format it's going to be in, it's going to be a 3 out of 3, no question. Timeless, absolutely. We're going to see it in so many different types of builds that run blue, and for Brawl as well. So that'll be it for it. Yeah, and that's all we got. So there you have it. That's all the bonus sheets. Again, 17 cards coming to Arena that are new. I really like the way that they slowly trickle new powerful cards into the game. Obviously, that could be like a financial reason where they're just slowly trying to build player engagement. It could be that they just don't want the game to be overrun. As a lot of like, this isn't a one-to-one mapping. Not every card in paper is going to be in Arena. So I do think that it's important to slowly consider what's going to be put into the game in a way of like not trying to break nothing, trying to balance it out, trying not to warp certain formats. That's the things that unfortunately can happen in this type of game. So I do think they're doing a good job of slowly bringing it in. Really looking forward to the builds that people will come up with. Every time a new card is released that's already been printed, it's nice to see how it works digitally. Get to play test things. I think there's a lot of benefits from playing Arena and seeing how these cards work. So I hope everybody has an excellent time brewing new things, experimenting with the cards, have a wonderful time with it, and I look forward to seeing what's been put out there.